a picture of their illegitimate daughter. Now, God bless her. I hope the little thing gets saved. But it's not looking real good with parents like that. Of course, God can do anything. Now, on June 6, 2006, also known as 666, was a day of much occult activity. As always, the repercussions will be forthcoming. Witches and Satanists who are very different from each other. Now, that's an interesting statement, isn't it? They're different from each other in how they practice their craft. That's what they refer to it as, the craft. Okay? When you see TV shows labeled The Craft, they're not talking about underwater basket weaving or doing crafts in,
Like what I did.
Yeah, they're not talking about that. They're talking about the craft is witchcraft, okay? But it's practiced in different ways, just like different religions are practiced in different ways, okay? So, witches and Satanists who are very different from each other celebrated that day of 3 sixes in various ways. Let's look at some of the ways they celebrated 666. About 60 miles west of Detroit, Michigan. I just spoke in Detroit, Michigan at the conference I was at. I wish I would have asked them about that. In fact, I was more well received in Detroit, Michigan than I was anywhere. I remember the crowd there. They were great. About 60 miles west of Detroit, Michigan is a small town called Hell. Hell. That's the name of the town. Okay? On the day 666, people came from thousands of miles away to visit Hell, Michigan. Now, this is documented. What I'm reading you right here, you're not going to believe this. On that day of the beast, the mayor of Hell, Michigan, John Coloni, who also owns a souvenir shop, had this to say, quote, "I've got 666 t-shirts and mugs. I'm only ordering 666 of the items, so once they're gone, that's it. Everyone who comes will get a letter of authenticity saying you've celebrated 666 in Hell. The items are all sold for $6.66 a piece.
Oh my.
Special gates were also set up for that occasion that were known as the Gates of Hell.
Oh.
The item, some may take this all as a joke, but it is not funny. And those who are involved in the occult, who are many, take it very seriously, as does Satan himself. All who were involved have cursed themselves." Yeah, you're cursed. Okay, so we've got this taking place in Hell, Michigan. On that same day then, on 666, Hollywood released 2 Antichrist movies. One was a remake of The Omen, which is about a man who is a political figure who realizes that his adopted infant son, Damien, who has a 666 birthmark on his skull, is the reincarnation of Satan. Death begins to surround him everywhere. Now, The Omen was originally made in, I think the 70s. I remember watching it as a kid. You talk about a... Yes, I watched it as a kid. Yes. And you talk about a demonic movie. The thing I remember from that movie that always struck me, and I've never been able to forget, is they always have a Catholic priest in these movies. And the Catholic priests always usually end up being very inept to be able to ultimately battle the devil, which is actually true. Because they are of the devil, so how can they battle the devil? If a kingdom is divided against itself, how can it stand? Jesus even said that. So, basically, in the movie I can remember, and I don't know how this movie is going to play out, but I can remember in that movie that there was a scene where there was this one Catholic priest who was like the main one that was, or one of the main ones that had battled Satan. And he had, in this room, he had taken all the pages from the Bible, and the roof and the walls, everything were coated in Bible pages. Because he believed, and it actually ended up being true in the movie, that if there was one little spot where Satan could get in, he'd come in. I mean, the guy spent all of his days in probably saying repetitive prayers and prayers to Mary and all these other things. Now, I'm trying to remember from 20 years ago watching this movie. But it always stuck with me because it was almost as though that's how they portrayed the church. You know, there's no chance, and then ultimately I can remember this one scene where this evil spirit got into the rooms despite all of this priest's best efforts and killed the guy, even with all this other stuff. So, I laugh at that. That's actually the exact opposite of what is. But that's how Satan would like Christians to think. That even a big man of God like a priest really has no chance, Who knows what this omen will be like? I can't even imagine. And I don't advise anybody go see these blasphemous movies, because when you go and watch these things, you're opening yourself up to the spirits that are working through these movies. I used to love horror movies when I was growing up. You know what? I was about half demon-possessed. I like horror movies so much. I loved to see when people got killed. I did! Now the Bible says, confess your faults one toward another. Well, I just confessed a fault, okay? Why did I like that? Well, because the evil spirits that were influencing me were moving me to that direction, okay? I don't watch the junk anymore. I don't like it anymore, okay? I used to when I was a kid. It's how I was brought up. Used to like heavy metal music. Had the heaviest metal that you could possibly imagine. I listened to it. Iron Maiden, Ozzy Osbourne, they would sing about 666, the number of the beast, all. I loved it all. Horror movies, all that stuff. But see, that's what happens. When you get into that, Satan will always try to take you further into it. And now a lot of people don't even get into that, but I was, because I was of the impression that if I was going to do something, I was going to go all the way. Well, I did the same thing with the satanic stuff as I'm trying to do right now, except God's turned all that effort around and now He's using it toward this. I hate to say it, but that's the case. It's a terrible thing. But then again, I have a very unique perspective upon which I can read this stuff and hearken back to those days when those were the thoughts that occupied my mind. Am I proud of them? Am I glorying in them? No, I'm not glorying in them. I don't even bring it up very much. But maybe I'll be able to help somebody in the future that maybe has had the same problem, because I've been there and walked in those shoes. Okay? And that's why Jesus will save many people out of the depths of Satan. There was whores and prostitutes that He saved. There was tax collectors that He saved. There was drunkards that He saved. Well, those guys were in the depths of Satan too. Quite honestly, those a lot of times are the people that will get saved beyond that, because if you're self-righteous and you think that you're in need of nothing, well, that's pride, and it's very hard for a proud person to ever get saved. At least if you're a drunk, you're a drunk. Or if you're a prostitute, you're a prostitute or a whore. Well, you know you're that. Well, hopefully you can do that. Yes.
Remember the hotel about the.
Okay, so now another movie that was released on 666 is called The Beast. Now these are all movies that were released on 666. I mean, how flagrant or blatant can you get? The story's about, now listen to this one. This was released on 666. The story's about fundamental Christian pastor who disappears after he stumbles across incontrovertible factual evidence that Christ never existed. In searching for Him, his daughter Danielle also has to combat a group. They have to combat a group of fundamentalist Christians who are trying to suppress the truth of the non-existence of Christ and save their religion. So in other words, the clear message here is that Christ never existed, and we got these terrible fundamental Christians who are just trying to brainwash everybody. That's the message they're sending. Sadly, thebeastmovie.com is also selling a self-inking rubber stamp for moviegoers so that they can stamp 666 Mark of the Beast on their bodies.
Oh my word.
Now this is a stamp you can buy. The stamp, which is good for 10,000 impressions, sells for $6.66. You can buy it off their website. The advertisement says, quote, wear the mark on your forehead or right hand. Lasts for 10,000 impressions. Safe and fun. Great for all ages. Stamp your friends.
You ain't stamping me.
I ain't buying one either. That's how bad it's getting. That's how bad it's got. Let's go further. Illegal aliens and the mark of the beast. It has been more than a month since the nationwide protest march by illegal aliens. The problems with illegal aliens, however, have grown continually worse, and they're going to keep growing